They told you the world is your battlefield, but they forgot to mention your greatest war is internal, not against others. Not against circumstances, but against the unchecked chaos of your own mind. The mind, your most powerful ally, or your most cunning saboteur. See, most people wake up every day with a weapon inside their head, and no idea how to use it. They react, they panic, they spiral. Not because the world is falling apart, but because their thoughts are. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and your heart started racing, not because of what happened, but because of what you imagined might happen? Have you ever replayed a conversation 100 times in your head, punishing yourself for words already spoken, while life moved on? That's not your heart. That's not your instincts. That's your mind working against you. And here's the harsh truth. Most of us programmed it that way. From childhood, we were trained to fear failure, crave validation, and expect control over things we never truly owned, like other people's opinions or the certainty of tomorrow. So our minds learned to chase, obsess, compare, worry. But Stoicism flips the script. It says, your mind is not the enemy until you make it one. And better yet, it shows us how to reclaim it. This isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about retraining them. It's not about forcing positivity. It's about discipline. It's about becoming the master of your mental landscape so that storms may come, but they won't shake your foundation. Let me bring in the science for a moment. Neuroscience confirms that our brains are plastic. Not plastic as in fake, but as in malleable. The thoughts you repeat become circuits. The fears you feed become habits. But so do the principles you practice. So what happens when you start applying Stoic principles like, is this in my control? What judgment am I adding to this situation? Am I reacting or responding? You begin to rewire the mind, consciously. You begin to strip away the noise, the self-imposed drama, the illusions. You don't just quiet the mind. You train it to serve your highest self. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what thoughts have you been soaking in lately? Are they strengthening you or stealing your peace? Because here's the truth few ever say aloud. Mental peace is not found. It is built, thought by thought, choice by choice, pause by pause. And if you can change the conversation inside your own mind, you can change the trajectory of your entire life. So no, your mind is not your enemy. But it is your responsibility. And starting today, we take that responsibility back, with logic, with discipline, and with the quiet courage of a Stoic. Let's begin. Let's get honest. Your mind, left on autopilot, is not a peaceful place. It doesn't gently guide you to clarity or lead you to joy. It pulls you, spins you, drowns you in loops of what if and what was, not because something is wrong with you, but because chaos is the brain's default setting. Science has a name for it, the default mode network, or DMN. This is the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on a task, when your attention is free-floating. You'd think it would help you rest. But no, that's when it starts feeding you flashbacks from a decade ago, worries that haven't happened, and imaginary arguments you're still trying to win. It's where anxiety brews, where regret echoes, where your inner critic sharpens its blade, and unless you train it otherwise, it becomes your reality. But here's the twist that most people never hear. Your thoughts are not facts. They're not commands. They're suggestions. And just because your mind proposes something doesn't mean you have to accept it. Let's pause here. How many times have you believed a thought that made you feel smaller? Something like, I'm not good enough. They're judging me. I'll probably fail anyway. And you accepted it, not because it was true, but because it felt familiar. That's the trap. Now listen closely. Familiar doesn't mean true. It just means it's been rehearsed. And your brain, like any good algorithm, feeds you what you keep clicking on. So the more you overthink, the more your brain builds a highway for it. The more you rehearse pain, the more fluent you become in suffering. But this is where Stoicism comes in like a torch through fog. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor, a soldier, and a philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wasn't just poetic wisdom. It was psychological mastery. The Stoics knew that chaos outside means nothing. If you command the world within, they trained themselves not to eliminate thought, but to observe it, question it, challenge it. A modern Stoic doesn't chase mental silence. They build mental filters. They don't try to control the world. They control how they interpret it. And when chaos arises, because it always will, they don't panic. They pause. They remember. A thought is just a sentence in the mind. A feeling is just a wave. Neither can drown you unless you grab onto it. So let's bring it back to you. Right now you may be carrying a mind that's been untrained for years. That's okay. You're not broken. You're just untrained. And the good news? Training begins the moment you become aware. You don't need to erase every negative thought. You just need to see them for what they are. Scripts, not truths. Background noise, not commands. So the next time your mind spirals into fear or replays the past, don't fight it. Don't feed it. Just name it. The default mode is running again. Then breathe, refocus, choose again. You see, power doesn't come from having a perfect mind. It comes from having a disciplined one. From knowing you can feel anxious and still act with courage. From understanding that your brain may throw chaos your way, but you don't have to build a home in it. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming unshakable. And that starts by mastering the first battlefield, your own mind. Let's keep going. Let me ask you something real. How many times have you caught yourself spiraling through the same thought? Not a new problem, not a new pain. Just the same worry, the same doubt, playing on loop like a broken record. It feels real, doesn't it? The fear, the regret, the worst-case scenario. But just because a thought keeps repeating doesn't mean it's true. This is what most people never realize. Your brain is a pattern machine. It doesn't think in truth, it thinks in repetition. If you've repeated the same self-doubt for 5 years, guess what? Your mind is going to keep serving it to you like it's breakfast. This is how mental loops are born. You feel pain. You analyze it. You fear it. Then your brain says, "Oh, you want more of this?" and keeps it coming. Why? Because pain, ironically, becomes familiar. And as humans, we cling to what we recognize, even when it hurts. Seneca, the great Stoic thinker, said it best. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He was right. It's not the moment that destroys us. It's the mental movie we play around that moment. The overanalysis. The emotional echo chamber. It's how we turn a single wound into a permanent worldview. But here's the empowering truth. Just because you feel it doesn't mean you have to follow it. You can break the loop, not by force, but by strategy. Let's talk about that. Step 1, awareness. You can't break what you don't notice. Start catching the loop in real time. Use tools like journaling. Write out your fears, name the thoughts, expose the pattern. Meditation helps too. Not to clear your mind, but to witness it. Just 5 minutes a day of observing your thoughts without judgment can reveal a lot. Ask yourself, is this the first time I've thought this? Have I solved anything by replaying this scenario? If the answer is no, you've just spotted the loop. Step 2. Interrupt it. The brain loves motion. Use it. When the thought starts spiraling, get physical. Stand up. Take a walk. Do push-ups. Breathe deeply. This isn't about avoiding thought. It's about shocking the system out of autopilot. Next, try reframing. Example. Instead of, "I always mess this up," say, "I've struggled before, but I'm learning, and I don't have to repeat the past." Your brain doesn't need toxic positivity. It needs honest direction. You're not pretending everything's okay. You're choosing not to hand the microphone to the part of you that thrives on fear. Remember, the goal is not to never have negative thoughts. The goal is to stop obeying them. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the one who decides which ones get to stay. Every time you interrupt a loop, no matter how small, you weaken it. You teach your brain, "We don't live here anymore." And slowly, that loop loses power. This is what emotional freedom looks like. Not perfection, not permanent happiness, but the ability to choose where your mind goes next. The Stoics were warriors of the inner world. They didn't wait for peace. They trained it. They understood that the greatest battle is not out there. It's the one between your ears. So here's your challenge today. Notice one loop. Name it. Then breathe, move, or reframe your way through it. And tomorrow, do it again. Because every time you break the pattern, you take one step closer to the most powerful version of yourself, the one who no longer suffers needlessly in imagination, but lives clearly in reality. Let's keep building that clarity, one thought at a time. Most of the pain we experience in life doesn't come from what happens. It comes from what we keep replaying in our minds. We don't suffer once. We suffer 1,000 times. Not from reality, but from the mental rehearsal of negativity. That fight you keep replaying, that mistake you won't let go of, that imagined outcome that hasn't even happened yet it's draining you every single day. Here's the hard truth. What you feed grows. And most people, they're unknowingly feeding noise. Every single day. Let me ask you this. When a negative thought pops up, do you challenge it? Or do you accept it as truth just because it feels real? This is the trap. Your brain isn't always your ally. It's a survival machine. And survival isn't about peace. It's about prediction. It's about running every worst-case scenario in the background, like a virus you forgot to close. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, made it crystal clear. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. It's not the event. It's the meaning we give it. It's not the person. It's the story we tell about them. It's not failure. It's the inner voice saying, "This means you're not good enough." But here's where the power shifts back to you. You can interrupt the noise. You can train your mind to filter what enters, what stays, and what gets rejected. Start with a simple but radical question. Is this thought useful or just habitual? Because most thoughts aren't useful. They're recycled. Old fears, old patterns, old beliefs that were never challenged, just repeated. Here's a visual. Imagine your mind as a garden. Would you water a weed every day and wonder why your flowers won't grow? No. But that's exactly what we do when we ruminate, overthink, and entertain thoughts that sabotage our peace. The Stoics knew this. They didn't try to control the world. They trained their perception. They built a mental filter that could turn chaos into clarity. So how do you do it? First, interrupt the pattern. When you notice yourself slipping into overthinking, pause and say, "This isn't truth, it's noise." Label it. Don't let it hide in the shadows. Second, reclaim your focus. Energy flows where attention goes. What you dwell on becomes your emotional diet. And like food, if you keep consuming junk, your spirit gets heavy, sluggish, tired. So choose better. Redirect your focus to something constructive. Go build something, learn, move your body. Call someone who lifts you up. Do anything that doesn't let the noise run the show. And finally, remind yourself, your mind is a tool. You were never meant to be enslaved by it. You were meant to guide it. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were selective. They didn't numb their minds. They disciplined them. That's your path too. Don't just let every thought pass the gate. Be the gatekeeper. Challenge it. Question it. And if it's not serving your peace, your growth, or your purpose, let it go. Because every time you choose not to feed the noise, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Your clarity sharpens, your energy returns, your mind becomes yours again. So I'll leave you with this. Today, don't ask, what's going to go wrong? Ask, what thoughts am I empowering? And do they deserve that power? And if the answer is no, starve the noise. Feed the clarity. That's the Stoic way. In today's world, attention isn't just valuable, it's currency. And every day you're spending it. The question is, what are you buying with it? Most people never ask that. They wake up, grab their phones, and their mind is gone before their feet hit the ground. One notification turns into 10. One scroll becomes an hour. One distraction spirals into a day of mental chaos. And they wonder why they feel exhausted, scattered, empty. But the truth is this. They're not tired from working too hard. They're tired because their focus is bleeding out into everything that doesn't matter. In the ancient world, Marcus Aurelius saw it coming. Even without smartphones or social media, he warned, "You must reclaim your mind from distraction." Now imagine if he lived today, where entire corporations are engineered to hijack your focus, your peace, your sense of purpose. We live in the attention economy. That means your time, your focus, and your presence are being sold to the highest bidder. And unless you reclaim control, you're not the buyer. You're the product. Let that sink in. Attention is energy. And energy builds your reality. If your attention is on drama, you'll live in emotional chaos. If your attention is on fear, you'll live in hesitation. If your attention is on what's missing, you'll live in lack. But if you train your attention like a warrior sharpens a blade, to focus on clarity, action, truth, growth, then your life begins to align with purpose, not by chance, but by design. So let me ask you this. When you feel drained at the end of the day, where did your attention go? To endless comparisons on social media? To replaying old arguments in your mind? To worrying about things you can't control? You only have so many hours in a day. So many thoughts you can truly direct. And you have a choice. Waste it or invest it, because energy follows attention. If your attention is scattered, your life becomes reactive. If your attention is disciplined, your life becomes strategic. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you consistently focus on. Focus on anger? You'll find more reasons to be angry. Focus on gratitude. You'll start to notice beauty in the simplest things. This is the compounding power of intentional awareness. Now, don't get me wrong, distraction is everywhere. But it only wins when you stop noticing it, when you stop guarding your gates, when you let your phone, your news feed, or other people's chaos control the direction of your day. That's why the Stoics weren't just thinkers. They were masters of attention. They trained their minds to stay present, to ignore what didn't serve their peace, to focus not on noise, but on action. They knew it's not about doing more, it's about wasting less. So how do you apply this? Simple, not easy. Start by taking inventory. Ask yourself, where is my focus going today? And what's it creating? Then cut ruthlessly. Cut the apps, cut the habits, cut the conversations that leave you drained instead of empowered. And train every single day to bring your attention back to the breath, back to your goals, back to what's real, what's yours to control, what actually matters. You don't need to escape the world to find peace. You need to reclaim your focus within the chaos. That's the game now. And if you win that game, if you protect your attention like treasure, you won't just feel more peace. You'll own your life again. So remember, attention is currency. Spend it wisely, because you're not just paying with your time. You're paying with your life. In a world that worships speed, multitasking, and noise, focus is now a superpower. But let's be honest, most people are mentally everywhere and effectively nowhere. They start the day with 15 browser tabs open, 5 apps buzzing, 3 conversations half finished, and a brain running on caffeine and cortisol. They wonder why they feel anxious, fragmented, burned out, and yet they keep going. That's not strength. That's distraction in disguise. If you want clarity, power, and peace, Stoicism offers a battle-tested protocol. Not just philosophy, but strategy. I call it the Stoic Focus Protocol. Let's break it down. Step 1. Schedule silence. Silence is no longer just golden. It's necessary for survival. You must schedule silence like a non-negotiable meeting. Not the kind where you're mindlessly scrolling in a quiet room, but the kind where you drop into stillness, intention, and deep work. Marcus Aurelius didn't have Slack notifications, but he knew. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Block out time, daily, to think, to create, to be unavailable to the chaos. This isn't laziness, it's leadership of the mind. 1 hour of focused effort is worth 10 hours of scattered activity. Silence is where clarity sharpens, where purpose returns. Step 2. Control your inputs. What goes in shapes what comes out. Your attention is under siege from news feeds, marketing, outrage, gossip. And if you're not careful, you'll be reacting all day to things that don't matter by night. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish for not joining in. That means curating your inputs like your life depends on it, because it does. Follow thinkers, not noisemakers. Read philosophy, not propaganda. Choose information that builds clarity, not dopamine addiction. Train your brain to crave depth, not drama. Step 3. Audit your circle. Let's be blunt. Some people are fuel, others are friction. Look around. Who sharpens your mind? Who drains your soul? You don't have to hate anyone, but you do have to protect your peace. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." And if that means walking alone for a season to grow in silence, so be it. Your circle is either your sanctuary or your sabotage. Choose wisely. Step 4. Embrace fewer tabs. Open. Not just on your computer, but in your mind. Mental multitasking is a myth. Emotionally juggling everything at once isn't strength. It's self-destruction. Every open loop, every lingering maybe, every person you're overthinking about, that's a drain, a leak in your focus. Close the tabs. Focus on one thing at a time. One goal. One healing. One priority. The Stoics didn't carry mental clutter. They carried principles. They acted with intention and let the rest go. So ask yourself today, what silence have I scheduled? What inputs am I consuming? And do they feed clarity or confusion? Who around me sharpens me? And how many tabs am I carrying that need to be closed? The modern mind is noisy. But the disciplined mind? It's dangerous in the best way. Calm, clear, undistracted. Focus is not a luxury anymore. It's your edge. It's how you reclaim your time, your power, and your peace. The Stoic focus protocol isn't about doing more. It's about protecting the space where your best thoughts, your deepest strength, and your truest self reside. When you master focus, you stop reacting and start leading. And that changes everything. What if I told you that your greatest strength isn't your reaction, but your refusal to react? That real power begins the moment you learn to detach, not from life, but from the need to control everything about it. Let's be clear. Detachment is not apathy. It's not indifference. It's not about becoming cold or emotionless. Detachment is emotional maturity. It's the ability to feel everything without becoming consumed by anything. It's standing in the middle of the storm and saying, I see what's happening, but I choose not to let it pull me in. Think of it this way. When you say, I am angry, your identity fuses with the emotion. But when you say, there is anger in me, you've created a space. And in that space is your power. That space is what Viktor Frankl called the gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, he said, lies your freedom. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So how do we build that space? How do we strengthen our detachment muscle? Let's explore 3 core techniques. Practical, simple, but life-changing. Technique 1, the 5-second pause. Before you respond. Pause. Just 5 seconds. That's it. Someone criticizes you? Pause. You get triggered by a message? Pause. Your ego wants to strike back. Pause. Because in those 5 seconds you break the loop. You return to your center. You shift from autopilot to awareness. The pause isn't weakness, it's control. It's the silent reminder. You are not your first impulse. Technique 2. Emotional journaling. Most people don't process emotions. They recycle them. They carry yesterday's pain into today's decisions. They react not to reality, but to unresolved emotion. That's why journaling is powerful. It lets you externalize what's internal without judgment. Write what you feel. No filter, no audience, not to impress. To observe. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. Oh, I always react this way when I feel ignored. Or, I use anger to hide when I feel powerless. This awareness is not weakness. It's insight. and insight is the first step to liberation. Technique 3. Meditation to observe thought patterns. Meditation isn't about clearing your mind. It's about seeing it clearly. You sit, you breathe, and you watch the show unfold. A thought comes in. I'm not good enough. You don't resist it. You don't argue with it. You just observe. There it is. And then it fades. Another thought. They don't respect me. Again, just observe. No judgment, no clinging. You realize thoughts are like clouds, always shifting. And you're the sky. Unmoved, unshaken. This practice rewires your brain. You stop being the emotion and become the observer of emotion. That shift changes everything. So ask yourself, do I react to every trigger, or do I pause and choose my response? Do I carry emotions as identity, or observe them as passing visitors? Do I own my mind, or let my mind own me? Because the truth is, life will test you. People will misunderstand you. Emotions will surge like waves. But detachment means you no longer get swept away. You witness, but you don't absorb. You feel, but you don't cling. You care, but you don't chase. Detachment is the quiet refusal to give away your energy to things that don't deserve it. It's not giving up on life. It's giving up on needing everything to go your way. It's walking into conflict and choosing peace. It's being misunderstood and not explaining yourself. It's feeling anger and choosing not to wear it as your name tag. This is not weakness. This is executive-level discipline. This is the mental posture of the Stoic. Calm, grounded, unshakable, and in a world that constantly tries to provoke, distract, and enrage you, that is your superpower. So the next time chaos knocks at your door, just remember, you don't owe every emotion a reaction. You don't owe every challenge a meltdown. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is nothing at all, is energy. It's not just about how much of it you have, it's about how you manage it. Most people think they're tired because they're doing too much. But the truth is, they're tired because they're leaking energy in 1,000 silent ways. Every argument, every overreaction, every thought spiral that leads nowhere. It's not the weight of life that breaks you. It's how you carry it. So today, I want to introduce a shift, a mindset that turns your energy into a weapon of clarity. Not something that gets drained, but something that gets directed. You see, most people walk around with their emotional dashboard wide open. Every opinion hits them. Every insult lands. Every little change in the environment determines how they feel. But here's the truth. Energy is strategy. Every time you overreact, you hand over your power. Every time you let someone provoke you, you let them own your state of mind. Every time you waste hours replaying something you can't control, you're not just losing time, you're losing vital energy that could be spent on peace, growth, or vision. Epictetus said it best. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, they didn't steal your peace. You handed it to them. That's a brutal truth, but it's also a freeing one. Because if you're complicit in your emotional disturbance, then you're also capable of reclaiming your calm. And when calm becomes your baseline, not something you fight for, but something you live from, that's when the game changes. Let's make this real. Imagine someone insults you. They mock your work, or they try to shame you publicly. Your instinct. Defend yourself, snap back, prove them wrong. But what if, instead, You simply did not react. What if you observed it and let it die in silence? Because not everything deserves a response. And not every emotional fire is yours to fuel. Energy as strategy means choosing your battles, not based on emotion, but based on return on investment. Ask yourself, if I give my energy to this, what does it build? Does it move me forward, or just keep me spinning? One of the greatest shifts you can make in your life is this: from reactive energy to strategic energy. Reactive energy is scattered. It's explosive. It burns hot but leaves you empty. Strategic energy is concentrated. It's quiet, but it gets results. A Stoic doesn't fight every fight. They pick when and where to engage, and most of the time they don't. Not because they're weak, but because they're wise. Let me give you a personal example. There was a time I used to argue online. Every comment, every disagreement, every person who didn't get it felt like a threat. I thought I was defending truth, but the truth didn't need defending. My ego did, and my energy wasted. My peace hijacked. So I changed my question. I stopped asking, how do I win this? And I started asking, is this even worth my energy? That one question will change your life. Here's how to apply this immediately. 1. Audit your energy leaks. Where are you giving your attention, your mental space, for free? Who or what drains you and adds nothing in return? 2. Pause before you react. That trigger, that insult, that unexpected email, take a breath. Ask yourself, does this deserve my fire? 3. Reinforce boundaries. Not everything or everyone gets access to you. Energy is your currency. Spend it like an investor, not a gambler. Stoic mastery doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you own what you feel and choose what you feed. You realize that anger, outrage, defensiveness, these are costly emotions. And the price you pay isn't just emotional. It's mental clarity, physical health, and peace of mind. So instead of being pulled in 100 directions, you move with precision. That's what Stoicism teaches. You don't react to noise. You move with purpose. You protect your energy like royalty guards a throne. So let me leave you with this. Your peace is not passive. It's strategic. It's chosen. It's protected by every moment you decide not to leak your energy on things that don't build you. Because in the end, your energy is your life force, and how you spend it defines the life you create. If this speaks to you, you're already on the path. Now choose. Will you keep leaking your fire into noise, or will you rise, reserve, and redirect that power into your purpose? Let's get something straight. You are not overwhelmed because you have too much to do. You're overwhelmed because your attention is being pulled in too many directions. We live in a world that glorifies multitasking. But here's the hard truth. Multitasking isn't mastery. It's fragmentation. Every time you switch between tasks, there's a mental tax, a residue that lingers. You think you're moving fast, being productive. But in reality, you're training your brain to be distracted, to never go deep, to always be split. And that fragmentation, it's costing you your peace, your power, your clarity. The Stoics knew this long before neuroscience confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who ran an entire empire, wrote these simple but powerful words. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? He wasn't talking about to-do lists. He was talking about focus, about eliminating noise, internal and external, so you can move with purpose. Because clarity doesn't come from effort. It comes from elimination. You don't need more energy. You need less distraction. Think about this. How many tabs do you have open right now? Not just on your browser, but in your mind. Unfinished conversations, unresolved arguments, projects you haven't committed to or let go of. Each one drains a little more of your attention. Each one steals a little more of your mental presence. It's no wonder we can't think clearly. We're too busy reacting to everything. So here's a shift from being busy to being clear, from multitasking to monotasking, from scattering your energy to channeling it. Focus is not about doing more. It's about protecting the signal from the noise. It's about asking the right questions. Is this necessary? Who or what drains my energy? What does my higher self need me to do right now? These questions become your internal compass. They cut through the fog. They bring your attention back to what actually matters. Here's the truth most people avoid. Distraction is often self-comfort. We scroll not because we're interested, but because we're avoiding discomfort. We multitask not because we're efficient, but because we're afraid of the silence. But here's the irony. Your next level of power, the clarity you crave, is inside that silence. That's where the work is. That's where the breakthroughs happen. So instead of avoiding stillness, start to create it. Schedule it. Protect it like sacred ground. Because your ability to focus in a distracted world is no longer just a skill. It's a superpower. Let's get tactical. 1. Start your day without input. No phone. No social media, no noise, just you and your mind. Let clarity lead. 2. Audit your digital environment. Are your apps designed to help you think or hijack your focus? Curate your inputs like your life depends on it, because it does. 3. Create deep work blocks. 1 task. Full presence. No switching. You'll get more done in 90 focused minutes than in a distracted 9-hour day. 4. Protect your mental tabs. Close loops. Finish things. Let go of what doesn't serve. Don't carry unnecessary weight into your next moment. This isn't just about productivity. It's about presence. It's about living a life that feels intentional, not reactive. Because every moment you spend distracted is a moment you're not leading yourself. And leadership, real self-leadership, starts with focus. So here's your mantra. I protect my focus. I guard my peace. I lead with clarity. Let it guide your actions. Let it shape your priorities. The world will keep screaming for your attention. But you will be the one who doesn't flinch. You will be the one who chooses what matters. You will be the one who focuses and rises. Because in the end, your focus shapes your future. And the life you want begins with what you choose to give your attention to today. Let me ask you something powerful. Who are you really? Not who you were 5 years ago. Not who others expect you to be, but who you choose to become today, in this very moment. See, most people live trapped in an illusion, the illusion that identity is fixed, set, cemented in the past. They say things like, "That's just how I am. I've always been like this. This is just my personality." But let me be clear, that's not truth. That's a story. And every time you repeat it, you reinforce a version of yourself that might no longer serve your highest potential. You're not your childhood. You're not your trauma. You're not your worst day or your biggest mistake. You are your pattern of choices today. And that, my friend, is the greatest power you hold. Because identity isn't a label, It's a decision you make daily, through action. Not words, not intentions, not affirmations. Action. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't believe in waiting for the perfect moment to become who they wanted to be. They acted as if they already were. They believed that you don't become disciplined by hoping to be. You become disciplined by doing what discipline does. Want to be confident? Speak like the confident version of you. Stand like them. Breathe like them. Take action before you feel ready, and let your brain catch up. Confidence isn't a trait. It's a consequence of alignment between who you say you are and what you consistently do. So here's a mindset shift that can change everything. Stop chasing identity. Start choosing it. Because you don't need permission to evolve. You don't owe consistency to your past. And you definitely don't have to explain your growth to people committed to misunderstanding it. You are allowed to change your mind, to rewrite your standards, to break your old patterns without apology. You don't have to carry forward what was handed down to you by pain, by fear, by people who never understood your worth. And I get it. This work is hard. Because stepping into a new identity means letting go of comfort. Letting go of excuses. Letting go of the version of you that was accepted by others, simply because they didn't feel threatened by it. But let me remind you, your next level is on the other side of your old self. And every day you wake up, you get to ask, am I building the identity I admire, or repeating the one I'm used to? Start simple. You don't need to be 10x better today. You just need to be 1% more aligned with the person you want to become. Want to be mentally strong? Pause before reacting. Want to be respected? Start keeping your word to yourself. Want to be a leader? Make one hard decision with clarity, not emotion. Brick by brick, choice by choice. Your identity builds itself through repetition. And one day, people will say, wow, you've changed. And you'll smile, because you'll know you didn't just change, you chose. So here's the mantra I want you to carry forward. I am not my past. I am my pattern, and I design my pattern daily. Let that guide how you speak, how you act, how you respond. Because the truth is this, you're not waiting to find yourself. You're here to create yourself. And that process? It starts now, with the next decision you make. Let's clear something up. Confidence isn't loud. It's not the one who talks the most. It's not the person posting the most motivational quotes. It's not hype, ego, or even charisma. Real confidence is quiet. It's subtle. It comes from knowing that you keep the promises you make to yourself, especially when no one's watching. See, we often think confidence is something you either have or you don't. Like it's tied to personality or looks or status. But that's just noise. Confidence is a byproduct of discipline. It's not something you fake. It's something you earn. Every time you wake up and choose to follow through on a goal, a habit, a standard, you're casting a vote. A vote for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. And over time, those votes stack. They build self-trust. They build identity. And eventually, that becomes confidence. Not because you told yourself you're worthy, but because you showed yourself. Think about it. When you tell yourself, I'm going to work out today, and you actually do it, you feel stronger, not just physically, but mentally. Why? Because you kept your word. When you say, I'm not going to react to nonsense today, and you stay calm during chaos, you walk taller, not out of arrogance, but from inner respect. This is how discipline works. It's not punishment. It's proof. proof that your actions align with your values. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's not just philosophy. That's a call to embody your principles, to stop waiting for motivation, to stop overthinking, to stop needing validation from the outside. Because here's the truth. You don't become confident by being seen. You become confident by being solid, by becoming the kind of person you can count on. So here's the question. What promises are you breaking with yourself? What habits, standards, or routines have you been starting tomorrow for months or years? And more importantly, what would it look like to honor them starting now? Discipline doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be consistent. You don't need to run a marathon. Just lace up your shoes and walk. You don't need to meditate for an hour. Start with one mindful breath when you feel triggered. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You just need to stop betraying your own word. That's how confidence is built, brick by brick. Each small act of discipline is a quiet affirmation. I respect myself. I trust myself. I am who I say I am. And when you live like that, you don't need to chase praise, followers, or validation. Because your power isn't borrowed, it's earned. So, if you've ever felt like you're not good enough, not strong enough, not ready, stop looking outside for reassurance. Start looking within and ask yourself, am I showing up with discipline? Because if the answer is yes, then confidence is no longer a mystery. It's a mirror, and what it reflects is someone unstoppable. Here's your mantra for today. Every small discipline is a vote for the future me. I don't speak it, I live it. If you live that truth, even imperfectly, confidence won't be something you chase. It will be something you become. Let's talk about the highest form of power, not the kind that controls others, but the kind that controls you. Self-mastery, the rarest and most unshakable strength in today's world. And no, it doesn't come from brute force, loud opinions, or trying to dominate others. It comes from inner order, from building yourself on a foundation that doesn't crumble when life gets loud. To become a person who leads, not by noise but by presence, you need just three things: mental clarity, emotional regulation, behavioral integrity. These are your three pillars. When you live from them, you don't have to chase peace. You become it. Pillar 1. Mental clarity. Your mind is your command center, but most people live with a fog of distraction, anxiety, and noise. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But how do you reclaim that power? It begins with silence. Journaling is not just writing thoughts. It's clearing mental clutter. It's making sense of the storm before it spills into your day. Meditation isn't about escape. It's about learning to observe your mind, not be consumed by it. And deep work, real, focused attention on what matters, pulls your energy away from the scroll and into the soul. When your mind is clear, you don't overthink, you execute. You don't get pulled by every impulse. You choose your direction. And that is rare power. Pillar 2. Emotional regulation. Let's be honest, emotions are powerful. But unchecked, they can destroy peace, relationships, and clarity. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress your emotions. It teaches you to master them. That means pausing before you react. That means breathing when your ego wants to explode. That means asking, is this reaction useful, or is it just habit? Reframing, isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's the skill of seeing with wisdom, not just with wounded pride. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The modern world tells you to react fast. The Stoic tells you, pause. And in that pause, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Pillar 3, behavioral integrity. This one's simple, but brutal. You say you're going to do something. Do you do it? Self-mastery isn't in motivation, it's in follow-through. Do your actions reflect your highest self, or just your current mood? Every promise you break to yourself chips away at your self-trust. Every promise you keep, even when it's hard, builds unshakable confidence. Behavioral integrity means alignment. No masks, no performance, no chasing approval. It's living so close to your values that you no longer need to explain yourself. Your life says it for you. When these 3 pillars are strong, you become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you get sharper. Mental clarity gives you vision. Emotional regulation gives you balance. Behavioral integrity gives you identity. And when those 3 work in harmony, you don't flinch in storms. You lead through them. So, ask yourself, what thoughts need clearing today? What emotion do I need to sit with instead of react to? What promise to myself am I overdue in keeping? You don't need more hacks. You need mastery. And mastery begins with you, right now. Here's the truth most people avoid. The moment you start performing, you stop growing. Because when you build your life to look right instead of be right, you trade your inner peace for applause that never lasts. And here's the thing, applause fades, but character? That's what remains. We live in an age where everyone is performing. On screens, in conversations, in relationships, trying to prove something to someone. But for the Stoic, the performance ends. The construction begins. You're not here to impress. You're here to become. Stop performing for approval. Have you ever caught yourself doing something, not because it felt right, but because it looked good to others? We all have. But you must ask, am I building a life that looks strong on the outside, while crumbling on the inside? The Stoics taught us this. You don't need validation. You need vision. You don't chase approval from the crowd when you know the ground you walk on is steady. Let the world misinterpret you. Let them doubt, question, or ignore. Because when your roots are deep, the storm is irrelevant. Build in silence. You don't build confidence by shouting. You build it in silence when no one's watching, by doing the hard things consistently. Every early morning you rise with discipline. Every decision you make aligned with your principles. Every emotion you regulate without needing to explode. That's a vote for who you are becoming. Confidence isn't hype. It's quiet evidence. You may not have applause today, but you will have results tomorrow. And when you show up like that, people feel it, even if they never say it. Don't let opinions shake you. Let's be honest. Opinions are everywhere. Someone always has something to say about how you should live, what you should do, how you should feel. But ask yourself, do they live with my consequences? Do they carry my burdens? Are they qualified to guide my mind? If not, let it go. Because your peace is far too expensive to trade for someone's temporary opinion. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." And often, it's not even your judgment. It's the judgment you absorbed from others. Free yourself. Final Stoic message. You control your mind. That's enough. The world? Uncontrollable. People? unpredictable. Pain, inevitable. But your mind, that's your kingdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You don't need to dominate the world to feel powerful. You need to dominate your response to it. And when you do that, you don't just survive. You lead. You walk into every room with quiet certainty. You don't force attention. You command it by being centered, calm, and clear. So, here's the shift. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the urge to explain yourself. Let go of performing for people who haven't done half the inner work you've done. Instead, build your mind like a fortress. Show up for yourself when no one's clapping. Stay rooted when the world wants you reactive. That's the Stoic way. That's the kind of person who doesn't need power, because they are power. If you're tired of performing, if you're done chasing validation, and if you're ready to build quiet, unshakable strength, then this channel is your training ground. Subscribe now, not to follow me, but to finally lead yourself. Because in a world full of noise, your mind, mastered, is your greatest weapon. And we're just getting started.